to order. First is a roll call, but we don't
I've
need to
got
do that.
everybody between physical and online.
Yeah, I have it too, so.
Present.
We have 3 roll calls.
You're giving presents?
Pardon?
He's giving presents?
I can't hear you. Oh, I couldn't hear what she said. Okay, certification, open meetings law, Dave.
Yes, the meeting was properly noticed.
Okay. Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment? Nope. Neither one of them? I can only see one. Oh. Okay, so moving on. The next thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from October 5th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second by Lisa. Is there any changes to the minutes, any edits, if anybody can remember way back when? Anything that needs to be changed? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. I gotta find my agenda again. Next item is communications. First, before we begin, is there any communications from any of the alders or the mayor? Don't everybody speak at once. All right. Everybody's tight-lipped tonight. Okay. Dave, do you want to walk us through the 3 communications that you received?
Well, the first one is from Affordable Transportation. They were just asking about timeline, and I had indicated that if the Community Foundation gets it, they set the timeline. Second one is the Tree Commission from February 13th. That's already outdated. There's a new request in that I'll be displaying on the screen. And the 325 Sustainability Committee, that was the thing in the packet, and it was approved by the Sustainability Committee this past Monday night. So these are just informational items only.
From the ARPA thing, you put together a nice spreadsheet, Dave.
Thank you. Okay, thanks for putting it up, Tim. You basically have 3 columns. The first column is the actual ARPA funds that have been received and then appropriated. Tim, could you go to page 2 quickly on that, please? So right now, in round figures, there's $600,000 that has not been appropriated. There's another $300,000 that's been earmarked, saying we think we're gonna do this. So you've got $300,000 in additional to earmark, whether tonight or not, but you have to appropriate it by December 31st of this year. Tim, if you could go back to page 1, please. Cash on hand, that's going to look different because not all the appropriations have been paid out at this point. So at year end, we had almost $1 million in cash. And then fund balance is basically interest income. So we had at year end $65,000 in round figures in interest, and we've had another $8,600 already this year. So you're looking at almost $75,000 in interest that's just sitting there that We don't have to do anything with that, but it's out there in case you do.
So just to be clear, that's above, in actuality, we have $375 if we want to include the interest.
That is correct.
Okay. Lisa?
So, so that 75,000 could be moved to a general fund. It's not required to be spent on ARPA, or?
Correct. The federal rules have no requirements for that. We can spend it on anything we want at any time. Absent any direction from council, that 75,000 in interest remains in the ARPA fund. But yes, you could move it to the general fund, or you could leave it in that fund and buy Beanie Babies and bubble gum.
Dave, was there any other requests from any of the department heads for additional ARPA funds?
The only thing for the ARPA funds that's already in the adopted budget for '24 is the use of the money for the ambulance. But other than that, no departments asked for funds, with the slight exception of Public Works.
Right.
John Capanon's here on behalf of the Forestry Division, and they are looking for funds out, if I'm understanding correctly, out of the 250 mark for sustainability.
Okay, but that hasn't been gone through the sustainability committee. I mean, I guess maybe Lisa can answer that. Is the forestry funds part of the proposal that they're thinking of for the sustainability?
Well, Ben is here as well, and could fill in, but there's some subcommittees that are looking at, so there's not a final proposal yet. And so part of what they are considering are requests from departments. And I believe there's been some internal conversations about things that would sort of meet that criteria. So I do know that they're very interested in trees and additional, so I don't know if we want, John to address that this evening or wait until they fully present, but that's part of the conversation, but nothing has been decided for certain.
So I'll just add that one of the things that will be happening is I had a meeting with Director Abear, and I have one scheduled with Director Weiss and Director Munns-Pritchard. Director Abear is on vacation through tomorrow, and then when he gets back, the four of us are going to meet and go through the sustainability plan and take some notes. And then the plan after that would be to meet with members of the sustainability committee. I'm not really sure how many at this point. They requested more than one, and then go through our notes. And at that point, I would think that if the sustainability has a request for trees, for example, Director Abear would be able to communicate that the tree commission also has a request and find out whether they're duplicate requests or if they're something totally different, which they may very well maybe. Probably wouldn't hurt to hear from John tonight since he's here, to get his take on it. And then the only other thing I would add is later on when we get into a later agenda item, we do have some recent updates to give from the revolving loan funds, which is separate to all this, but that's something that we wanted to touch on. It's not really coming from a department, but it is coming basically through us, just as an FYI.
Thank you. So, go ahead, Lisa.
I was just going to add one more thing. I don't want to get ahead of the sustainability committee, but just to put things in context, I think it's safe to say, as you said, Mayor, that there's definitely an interest in collaborating, not reinventing the wheel. So if there are, as you said, department heads who would like to see, some of the sustainability measures, but maybe haven't had the funding, There's an interest in supporting that. Also, there's a interest in solar, but we also know there's also some CIP money that's, there's pretty aggressive solar plans already. So I think, one of the main things is that collaboration, making sure that everybody's having a conversation so that, nobody's stepping on toes and everybody is sort of on the same page. So that's kind of where the conversation was left with the Sustainability Committee. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else, Ben?
Yeah, that's where our conversation left off on Monday. And we are planning to meet on the 15th next and solidify our plan.
I guess before we move on, John, do you want to come up and give us kind of summary of the needs for trees?
Can you hear me? Okay. So, I guess I'm here on behalf of the city's tree commission, and we were informed that there was some sustainability funds set aside to ARPA, and I was basically, they requested that I put together a proposal for some additional tree maintenance and planting funds. My operating budget has not increased with any real significance in the last 10 years. So we're getting fewer trees trimmed every year because we can't continue our cycle like we intend to. We will be planting fewer trees going forward if we don't get some more funding. And so looking at this as an opportunity to extend at least a couple of years without having to ask for additional operating funds was a win-win to me. I'm also going to be requesting funds through the Inflation Reduction Act. There's a small portion of the city that qualifies for some urban forestry grant funding that the state is running, but that only covers about 10% of the actual city, so I can only work within that neighborhood. So outside of that, our ask is for $25,000 over the next couple of years to help with routine maintenance and additional tree planting. We'll probably pick one additional neighborhood on top of where we're going to focus the IRA funding on, so that we can continue to make our push around the city and improve and maintain our tree canopy.
So John, is that $25K per year or a one-shot 25 total?
My request was for just $25,000 total. Not against doubling that. Well, we figured we would spend it over the next two fiscal years.
Okay, that's what I like. So
Yeah.
Right.
John, what do you have as your goal with the additional funding? What's your goal? What do you hope to accomplish with it?
I haven't really put it all down on paper yet, but my goal would be at least 50% of that would be on maintenance cost to do additional tree trimming through our contractors. And then maybe a 50-50 split between maintenance and planting. But as far as sustainability goes, unless we're maintaining our current tree canopy and our current urban forest, it doesn't do us any good to plant more trees. So my goal would be at least 50% on maintenance and whatever left on additional trees.
As a follow-up, would this be like for removal of the dying ash trees and things like that, or?
No, our ash tree situation is pretty well handled. This would just be trimming for health and storm damage, things like that. Any other questions for me? Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else online? Couldn't get you guys all.
No, I'll just say that John was helpful at a situation. I talked to him about some trees in my area, and I really appreciate the department's help, and I am highly supportive of making sure that they have the appropriate funding to do what they need to do.
Mhm. No, I mean, the key thing is to make sure that's part of the sustainability funding that actually gets into their proposal. And so I look to Lisa and Ben to make sure that gets done, unless you guys were thinking that it's a separate pot of money.
No, I don't think there would be any objection within the Sustainability Committee about this proposal. I would like to bring it to the group, but yeah.
Okay. So that will be included in their big proposal that they will present in May.
I just have one question. So, John, if you were able to secure the funds, how quickly could you use them? Is there like a specific planting time or trimming time that you would have in mind?
So if we did receive any additional funding this year, we could spend most, if not all of it, this year potentially, just on our maintenance and fall planting program.
So is it more or less beneficial to get them, let's say, May versus August?
You trim trees more in the fall after that.
Correct. So we would begin our fall maintenance program again in October, November typically. So trimming would start in the same time that our fall planting program would be happening as well. So all that funding is essentially spent at the very end of the year or at the very beginning of most years. In the summer is where I spend the least amount of contract funds.
And how about the planting then? When would you utilize those funds?
It could be as soon as this fall. We do 2 plantings every year, spring and fall. And I do spend about $22,000 to $25,000 on our general infill for tree planting, on top of the $50,000 to $60,000 for new development every year that we plant trees. So, we are planting a lot of trees every year, but there's areas where there's not new development happening that are being left behind because those houses were built before the current ordinance was in place. So we have entire neighborhoods with very few street trees that we would love to try to go back around and infill those.
And you're moving more toward native trees, am I right about that? Or your tree choices have changed? I don't want to get too off track, but some of your tree choices have changed and evolved over the years based on what benefits as opposed to the old school.
The majority of our plantings are native species. There are many that are considered naturalized, meaning that they've been introduced and have been around long enough that they're practically considered a native species at this point. But anything that's considered an invasive or, a weed plant, so to speak, we don't plant any of those. For example, Norway maple, which makes up almost 25% of our current inventory, is no longer being planted. It's considered an invasive species, so we don't plant those.
That's what I was going to ask, is whether or not you're actively removing any of the invasives, and that one's probably on the line. It's not necessarily as invasive as some others, but or are you removing some old trees and replacing with more natives?
We don't actively seek out invasives at this point to remove from the street trees, our inventory, but when those are removed due to health or storm factors, we don't replace them with other invasives. They're replaced with native species.
Any other questions for Joe? Thank you very much for coming and explaining all that. Next item on the agenda is, looking at, so the Sustainability Committee put in a small proposal, I think it was for 3,300 to do outreach to the community to kind of showcase the sustainability plan and to kind of get people excited about it, get connections made throughout the community. And so this is like a mini proposal that, you know, I'm thinking is going to be subtracted from the 250,000 that we've earmarked for them. I think they want to start going on making plans for that, so that's why it's coming here today. But I'll let Ben and Lisa talk more if they have more information on that.
I actually don't. I haven't been too involved in this piece of it other than what they've chatted about in meetings. I think it's fairly self-explanatory, but I don't know if Ben has other ideas, having been involved with a previous community outreach. Maybe you could fill in the blanks for us.
It is pretty self-explanatory what we're trying to do here. It would be at Chorus Public House, like our earlier event. One thing to update is that the guest speaker is something that's up in the air. That the person who is listed there is not able to be a guest speaker on the day of the event that we have planned. So we would have to still have discussions about who that would be.
Okay, Lisa?
But
The one thing I did forget to mention is I think part of the goal is if when you see the sustainability plan, there's a pretty big component that the community needs to be, you know, taking part in. I mean, that's the whole point, that this is not to be a completely city-run project. The committee would like to get the community engaged and be responsible for some of their own sustainability measures in their homes, communities, and work potentially. So I think it's a way to kind of loop back and also engage the community and help maybe get some boots on the ground and interest in developing some of the plans that that you know the sustainability committee has suggested. So I think that's part of it. It's not necessarily just to share information, but hopefully engage the community and get them to move forward with some of the plans. So.
Ben, did you have anything else to add?
no, not at the moment.
Okay. So this is a possible action item. Does anybody else have any questions, suggestions? Is everybody in favor? I guess make a motion. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve this proposal? It'd be part of their 250 that we've earmarked, that we just give part of it now? Yeah.
I would move.
Wait, we can't hear you.
In addition to?
No, it's not in addition to. So
Okay, so it'd be part of
we've
that.
earmarked 250,000. They just want, I've asked them to create a proposal of how that money is going to be spent, because we're just not
Okay.
going to give them a blanket check. This is their first proposal.
So the first proposal of 3,300 to out of that money that we put aside. So
Right.
yes, I'd make that motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other questions, concerns?
My question with this, which I was hoping to ask before the motion, is what's the purpose of a guest speaker when it's a community like, you're supposed to rally the community to taking sustainability initiatives or join the committee and learn about the plan, but I guess I'm missing where the guest speaker needs to be a portion of that, other than kind of like a draw or the entertainment value.
I think the idea was to energize people to take action after the event.
So who was, the guest speaker is listed, what is their kind of background, do you know, Ben?
Like I said, that particular guest speaker is, not going to be the person. So we would have to, I know, Danelle, our chair, has some other names in mind that we'd have to discuss. I'm not on that particular committee, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Lisa.
I was just looking at Danelle sent to the chair, it's unfortunate she's not here, but the chair sent out a notice about this particular person not being available, and I think what they are looking for, they have a couple people in mind and also some recommendations, but one of the things is, as you mentioned, was besides being a motivational speaker, talks about possibilities, visioning, and ideas for implementation as far as, how to kind of go out and make some things happen. But they don't have a specific person in mind, so I don't know if you want to carve this out until, or, if you just trust them to make a judgment on who that person is. I guess that's a question for the group.
I think, Dave, I look to you. I mean, if they don't get a motivational speaker, that amount of money gets subtracted from this, right? They have to show bills or whatever to get reimbursed?
Well, they'll have to give us invoices or paid things to get reimbursed, but if you are authorizing $3,300, they can spend $3,300. And again, if they don't have a guest speaker and want to buy Beanie Babies and bubble gum for that, they can.
Okay, so because our next meeting will probably be, well, I don't know why this is scheduled at the same time that the next proposal is on the table, so.
Well, it's scheduled on May 25th, and I'm guessing that they don't want to try to find a speaker if they don't have the funds authorized.
Right.
So I think that's the thing, and we could say, I think we could carve out and say, that $1,500 has to be designated to a speaker, up to $1,500 has to be designated to a speaker, or that money doesn't get awarded, or something to that effect. If, that, I think that makes sense to me. If by chance they don't have a speaker, then I think we need to carve out the $1,500.
So do you want to make that motion?
Sure. Are you okay with making that as an amendment, or?
The amendment, that's what I meant, amendment. Yeah, because we have a motion on the floor, but if you want to make an amendment to the motion.
Okay, so the amendment is that $1,500 of the $3,300 must be used for a guest speaker, and if the speaker is not, if there is no speaker, then the $1,500 gets carved out.
Second by Jensen. Any discussion on the amendment? Jean?
I would encourage the language up to 1,500 rather than 1,500.
Agreed.
Please don't do that.
No?
I need a dollar amount to amend the budget. I can't put in a range in a budget.
Okay. So if it's $1,530 though, that's okay as long as it's within the 3,300? I just want to, what's easier for you?
All I'm saying is, please don't put language of up to in a figure. That makes it extremely difficult to do accounting-wise.
So if they hired a speaker at $800, would they be able to go forward because it's less than the 1,500?
Yes, they would be able to go forward,
Excellent.
but in that scenario, they've got $700 that they could use for a second speaker.
I mean, I'm fine with all of that.
Okay. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Any opposed? What was that?
That's all right.
An aye.
Yeah.
Any opposed? the amendment carries. Now we go back to the original motion.
Ward, come here.
I had a question.
Okay, Mayor has a
So,
question first.
Lisa or Ben, the date of the event, was there a particular reason you chose that day? Because it does fall over Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I asked the same question, and that is the only date that the chorus house was available. They're booked with other things, and I wondered if that was going to be okay, but that the group said, let's go with it, so.
That cuts out the majority of our community. Let it go away on Memorial Day.
We also do have group availability on that weekend. I know it's not ideal for getting turnout from the community, but I think that was the only day we had the venue.
Well, there's other venues that I guess I do question that if it's supposed to be a motivational for the community, but you're picking a date that the community can't come, what's the point? You know, then you're spending $300 for 20 people. I would go and check other venues. You know, it doesn't always have to be the chorus house. There's other local venues that would be good too. And I guess evenings might be better than a weekend anyway. I guess I would throw that back at the Sustainability Committee to really think about what the objective is of this event. And so that's my 2 cents worth.
I can definitely give that feedback back to the group.
Yeah, because if this motivational speaker can't come that day, maybe there's a day that they can come, and you just have to change where it's going to be held. And like I said, sometimes evening events are better attended than a weekend event. And, you know, the Lagerette is another venue that has been very supportive of sustainability issues or initiatives in the past. And so if the chorus house is booked, I would reach out to them.
Or depending on the time of year, maybe there's an outdoor venue that would be interesting around the city. But either way, I'm with Regina on this one and would vote no on this at this point, if come to a vote.
All right, so we do have a motion on the floor for them to spend the $3,300 on this event. I guess it's, you know, our question now is, do we pass this motion with this date in mind, or do we, I guess I've already recommended that they change the date, but how do we proceed? What are your thoughts before we vote on this? Well, but then that's another committee of the whole, and if we wait till May, I know, but if we wait till May, they can't plan it.
I have
Jean?
a thought.
Go ahead, Jean.
They are putting together even more information. If we were to let them know that we like the idea of this event and this direction, with the feedback of the date as well as the venue, and ask them to resubmit. Is it possible, because I have a feeling, you know, I don't know if we're gonna get every dollar spent tonight. They're coming forward to us anyway with more coming. A part of me says, why don't we rephrase and encourage them to go forward, but perhaps consider bringing it back.
So how would that work, Gene? We can't encourage them to go forward unless we put some money behind it.
So I'm saying that we could maybe pass, and give them, but perhaps we could take out the money for the speaker along with the date, feedback that, are you certain you want it at chorus? Are you certain, that if we can, you know, sort of generalize and say, we understand what this amount would be, we're encouraging you to go forward, but we're not gonna come back to us for the finalized dollars. I don't know if that's possible, but I would like to encourage them to keep going forward, particularly with our feedback.
So,
Go ahead, Mayor.
so I guess the other issue I have is, under the current timeline that we have, and we haven't been able to keep one yet, the plan is set to come to City Council on May 14th, which there's no guarantee the council will approve the plan that night. So we're scheduling the event to talk about implementation of a plan that might not even be approved. So I think it's premature to even schedule this thing until the council approves it. That's just my feeling. I understand, you know, the excitement and the momentum that we want to keep it going, but I don't want the council to feel like, oh, we have to pass this thing because they have an event planned. I don't think that's fair to the council.
Okay, I'll share that as well.
Yeah, so we have a motion, somebody can withdraw it, we can table it, we can vote on it. What is your desire?
We have a motion with the amended, that has been amended. I'm thinking it would probably be best to just,
Postpone it?
yeah.
Can I
But
ask,
Sure.
Go ahead, DJ.
if
Sorry.
they, sorry, I'm trying to clear my head for a second. If they are asking this with the date in this proposal, if we passed them as the motion states, are they tied to a date? Are they tied to anything else other than the money that we're allocating to them? Are we only moving to have this money allocated to them? Or do they have to abide by all the pieces of the proposal as set?
The current motion does not include anything about dates, so it does not hold them specifically to that date unless you put it into the motion.
Right.
Just like with the tree commission, you know, they don't have a date certain, but he says, okay, we're going to spend it in fall and spring.
Great.
Okay.
That's what I just wanted to clear up. Thank you, Dave. I appreciated
And-
that. So if we believe in the amount of money to be set for this event, then great. My only concern is that the vision of what the event, but Ben's taking that perspective back. So as long as it's just the money set aside, I can understand that.
And if I'm understanding you right, Dave, in essence, we're not tied to a date, so we've provided feedback to the committee about concerns about the date based on it being Memorial Day and also real close to a vote which may or may not happen. The committee, because they have the money, could then still go ahead with this particular date.
That is correct. It's kind of no different than the annual budget. You say, okay, your budget is $500,000 for the year for your department. There's no date that you have to spend it by except by December 31st.
So I guess I feel like I'm a bit torn because I had I expressed my concerns, as I said, during the sustainability meeting. And I didn't speak for council and I can't speak fully for sustainability. So I was only speaking personally because I did have a concern about the date being Memorial Day weekend. But I also think that maybe part of your conversations, Mayor, when you're talking with directors and the sustainability committee, I think it's safe to say there was a pretty strong consensus. We're not comfortable with them setting that date in stone because without the council approving it. So they may be setting themselves up and the speaker for a couple of issues. They're going to line up the speaker who's maybe giving up their Memorial Day weekend. The council doesn't, approve it, so they've got two issues. So I don't know if that's a conversation you just want to have with them, because I think in theory, the 3,300 is not the concern. It's making sure that people are there, that hear their message, and that they are, they're presenting a plan that's been approved. So I think in some ways they're putting the cart before the horse, so I don't know if it's as simple as having that conversation and saying, yes, the money's been approved, but here's the bottom line.
Well, the other issue is this committee of the whole is making a recommendation to council.
Right.
So the council's not gonna act on it until April 9th.
Right.
So that really cuts into their ability to market their event as well.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's a few things to work out. I can understand where they would like to have the event before school gets out, because that could be a challenge, in the summer with vacations and things like that as well. So, go ahead, Brad.
Can we add a condition into this approval, or into this proposal, that it's based on, or it only becomes effective once the council approves the plan?
Right, which won't be until May, right?
Well, we could.
No, their plan isn't to have their plan come in until middle of May,
Right.
which is basically 5 days before this event. And if we have any changes to their plan, like the mayor says, they're presenting something that isn't approved, which is kind of not good for the community. Still on Memorial Day weekend, where they're only going to get maybe 25 to 50 people at best, and you're spending a lot of money and you're not getting the people energized. I mean, to me, as somebody that plans events all the time, it's not an ideal situation.
Yeah, I think it would also be helpful to at least try to get some city staff there too.
Right.
Because they're the ones that ultimately are gonna have to implement this thing. And if I go to city staff and say, oh, by the way, you have to be there on this Saturday night in May on Memorial Day weekend, not really sure how well that's gonna go over.
Again, we had a great turnout for their sustainability forum, and it was on a weekday. And people spent 2 to 3 hours there, really, really excited. And I think a Thursday night, sometime this summer, might be a better. Oh, that's right. It won't be gazebo music.
There.
Um,
Well, hundreds of people.
And if they have to wait till fall too, and maybe that's better to get all their ducks in a row with all the committees to really present what each department's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The more we talk about this, the less comfortable I am of approving this tonight, because I think it's setting itself up for failure. Greg?
Couple of things. One is the Memorial Day weekend, you also have to remember that there's a parade, and there's a memorial service that lasts until noon. So, and then you have people that are partying afterwards. So, yeah, it's not a good weekend for this, I don't think.
And it's coming off setting of my week,
Yeah, and because, exactly. And because of that, I think I agree that it would probably be better if it was in the fall, after school started, or before school starts, somewhere around there. So that in mind, I'm going to withdraw my motion.
Well, yeah. If you go by Robert's rules, the motion belongs to the floor.
Yeah, so you'd have to, true, that's true. So we just have to vote on it.
Have to make a motion.
Call the question.
Motion to postpone?
You want to make a motion to postpone it?
Do we want to postpone it? Yeah, okay. I'll make a motion to postpone.
If you postpone, it's better than voting
Yeah,
down.
I make a motion to postpone.
Second.
Motion to postpone, second by Reeves. Any other discussions?
No, we'll just make all of our concerns clear about, we don't have any issue with the proposal itself, but maybe the timing.
Timing and, yeah.
Yeah, the timing is just off. All right, all in favor of postponement, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Whew, thought that was gonna be an easy one. I know. Next one on the agenda, and I don't know who's presenting this, if it's the mayor or somebody else, the diversity, equity, and inclusion activities.
Is that something you want to cover, Gene?
I reached out to Abba just because I had some questions. So Mayor, I don't know if you had a plan with her.
I have not had any conversation with her other than the email that I was CC'd on.
Okay.
So, but basically, to make a long story short, we had budgeted $18,000 to do they're calling IDEA, inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they're looking for an additional $25,000 to finish the project. And what they'd like to do as part of that is a community-wide survey and try to get more of a feedback into the plan. And I haven't really had any conversation. I don't know if we haven't had a meeting for a while, so I'm not really sure how the rest of the members of the committee feel about that. But it seems like a big ask.
Without a budget? It's a big ask without like an actual budget. Like we were asking the sustainability committee to come with a 1 to 2 page proposal of what it's for, the actual cost, not just estimated cost of that, and then we can make a decision. I mean, we have like 50,000 earmarked, but that's minus the 18,000, or was that on something else? Anybody know, Dave, if we already paid about 18,000?
I think in her email she indicated that she had about $7,000 worth.
I know, but I'm talking about on our ARPA, it's already came out of our ARPA funding. Dave, I'm looking at you.
I wasn't anticipating this question. I'd have to look in the 23 to get that answer for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even remember if we pulled it out of ARPA or the fund balance.
I do not either.
Okay.
Sorry, I
That's
just
all right.
don't remember.
I cannot give certainty, but I would like to say my memory was the $50,000 earmark I asked was in reaction to the 250 by sustainability. It was totally separate from what was going on with ABBA at that time. I think that was approved at a council meeting. I do know we have to check it, but I'm quite certain that's how that went.
Okay, thanks, Jean. Lisa?
So when I was on CACP, and it was at the end of when I was on it, and this proposal was brought forward, she brought a pretty detailed proposal with timelines and goals. So I would like to know, I'd like to know where all that's at before I would like to know, like, here's what's been met and what's going on. I haven't. So I would like that before we think about extra money.
All right. Well, I could certainly bring that. You know, it sounds like we're going to be having at least one more meeting, so I'll bring that, and so you'll have it.
That'd be good. Thank you.
So,
Moving right along, we have
Right on.
25 minutes for Ben.
right. Well, we have Phil and DJ on too, so.
Oh, Phil is on.
Discussion and possible action of, sorry. Number 9, discussion and possible actions regarding the appropriations of the remaining ARPA funds. Right now, we have 300,000 left, possibly 375 if we move the interest over. I think were you gonna do on the revolving loan first, and then we can discuss it?
Yeah, we
or-
can do that. So what we did is, we just had a meeting this week with WIBIC. They're the ones that administrate our revolving loan funds. We have 2 revolving loan funds. We have one initially that was set up through the Redevelopment Authority using excess TIF dollars. And then we funded the second one, which is a citywide one. The RDA one only covers the downtown area. The citywide one covers the entire city of Stoughton. And you all were generous enough to invest $200,000 into that fund. And there's been some, pardon me?
I think it was only 100,000.
I think it was 200.
Okay.
Yeah, we amended it.
Okay.
So unfortunately, one of the key players for WIBIC passed away unexpectedly, tragically. And so they're in the process of reloading their team. And so they brought in some new folks. We had a meeting the other day to try to get grounded where we were at. Dave was there, I was there. There were several members from WIBIC, and Katrina Becker was there as well. And we talked about a number of things. But to make a long story short, what we wanted to do is find out where we were at as far as the balance in our 2 funds, and then what else was in the hopper or other conversations that have been taking place. And I think that's probably why Katrina's on here as well, because she's been doing a lot of the legwork on behalf of the city and the business owners. So Dave put together a spreadsheet, and I'll just have him go through it. And we just kind of want you to understand where we are and where we think we could go, and whether or not you want to consider investing more money into the revolving loan programs.
Thank you. Hey, Dave, all yours.
Thank you. So there's 3 columns on it, this page. The first one, as Tim mentioned, is the RDA fund. Second is the ARPA, and then I've got a total column. So right now, as of yesterday, we had $347, $399 available that we could spend between the 2 funds. Under the potential loan recipients is all the activity that we're aware of for people who have submitted a loan application at this date. And bottom line, if all these loans go through, we are short $51,601 in dollars. So we would have to tell one of these recipients, and I don't know how, if it's first come, first serve or not, but they would not be able to get their $50,000 without funding it. So that's something that we're looking for direction here. Now, the RDA does get quarterly payments from WIBIC for principal and interest that came in. I'm going from memory, that's about $13,000. So assuming that WIBIC gives us the payments on a timely basis for first quarter, I'll have another $14,000 available April 30th, give or take. But that still isn't enough to cover the $51,600. So I'm going to leave the question open right now, or open it up to you folks if you have any questions on the spreadsheet.
And I'll just add one thing. We do, as of today, we do have a closing date for the Northern Compass loans. So that's coming up here in the first week of April. So we know that one is going to close. Some of the other ones are either the applications have been submitted, they may or may not have gone through underwriting, and may or may not been assigned to a loan officer. Some of these have been in there since late last year, so those I think should be getting processed soon. And then there's a number of other ones that, like I mentioned, that Katrina's been talking to other business owners that would like to take advantage of the loans if the funds are there. And we understand that you have till the end of the year to allocate the funds, and they need to be distributed by the end of 2026. We don't think that's going to be a problem. What we like about the revolving loan fund program is it's kind of the gift that keeps giving, because the money goes back in there and it can be used for the next generation of borrowers. and invest in our local businesses, especially the downtown businesses, which many of these are. So we think it's a good way to spend money because it's not kind of the one and done. It's kind of an ongoing investment into our community.
Katrina, I have a question for you. So this is great because I think for a while there it had stalled out and we weren't. I'm glad that we have so much interest right now on both of these revolving loans. Besides the all the ones that we're seeing on the spreadsheet, are there more that you know of? I mean, I'm just thinking outside. If we approve the 50,000, but yet there's another 50,000 that could be used right away. I kind of want to know that answer.
Sure. Yeah, there are at least a few others that I know are interested in the revolving loan fund program. I know one more for sure, which I had thought had submitted a loan already or their application already, but it turns out they haven't. So there's at least one that is very, very likely to be soon submitting something. In addition to that, there are probably 2 to 3 more that have that I've talked to that have shown interest that aren't listed here.
And just kind of a quick thing, just in case you don't know, they can borrow for a maximum of 50,000, and if they're outside of the downtown, they can apply for each one. It's
inside the downtown.
The downtown can, yeah.
Good. Inside the downtown, they can apply for
For
the RDA
both.
funds
Yeah.
and the city funds. If you're outside the downtown, you can only do the city funds.
Right, that's what I meant to say.
I
Thanks
know,
for catching
you had
that.
it opposite, so I just wanted to clarify.
That's how my week is gone. So, and if they, typically they're a 5-year loan. If they get both loans, we learned this week, it's a 6-year loan. And one of the things that makes it advantageous is right now the interest rate is at 3%. There's a $2,000 fee to WIBIC. And one of the things that we're going to recommend, and we're in the process of drafting kind of an MOU with all the rules and all this information because we didn't have anything. And when we rely on one person and that person is gone unexpectedly, it creates a problem. So what we're looking at doing is raising the interest rate slightly, and then at that point trying to funnel all the loans through Katrina, either through their business or through the Innovation Center, so she can be like the centralized hub and have a check and balance with WIBIC, and then her fee would be paid for by some of the interest earned on the loans. So it would be no cost to the city or the taxpayers. And we think that going forward, that'll be a more efficient process because that'll help her have the resources to help the business owners submit their application, because we had a number of them that submitted partial, but they never completed it because they're trying to run their business and it just got to be too much paperwork for them. So having Katrina as a resource to make sure that we can get those loans to the finish line, I think would also, more than likely increase the demand for these funds. Does that all make sense?
Yes. So, with all that information out there, as you said, we still have,
Jean's got her hand up.
oops, Jean.
I just have a question. A comment and a question. One is that some of the presentations back that August when we did all that, some of them are here and listed already and going, and it seems like a good program. I'm wondering if our fellow alders see that this as I'm sorry, I have dogs misbehaving. If we have a interest in expanding, one is to definitely cover that 51,000. I'd be very in favor of that. An amount above that, especially if this can go on in perpetuity. So I don't know, 100, 150 of our 300 that remains, it would potentially lead to some really, really great programs. Is something I'd just like to put out for discussion.
Go ahead.
I kind of took that as what you were saying before, asking if there were more interest as
Yeah.
well.
And so, Is there interest from the other fellow banker in the room?
To defer, we don't do business loans.
You don't have an opinion?
But it definitely sounds like it's an advantageous rate. So even adding a little bit more at the margins seems wise.
Again, we have like 375 to deal with, and also before anybody even makes a motion on this, the Community Foundation also with their presentation to City Council, I think it was last month, they want to know if it's another possibility that they could offer a similar grant. Just 100.
Yeah, I think you gave them 100, and then you gave START some money, and you gave the free health clinic some money as well.
It's all in that budget. And they had far more, again, applications and requests than funds, even with the added, I mean, they have their own 50,000 and then our 100 on top of that, and they still were,
So-
the request and the need is
So I think we should consider going to 150
for
for the,
which,
pardon?
no, the Community
For
Foundation?
the community fund.
I don't know if I'd go beyond 100 just because it's hard to say. I mean, we might in the next year maybe because the interest rate, we don't have to use that by 2026. We might want to reserve all that interest for another year, but if we go beyond 100 this year, it required them to do a lot more work, and they're all volunteers. If we give them more, I think it's gonna break them. I mean, literally, it was a lot of work for them to go through the proposals. If you have 150, that's a lot. He was, you know, when I was talking to Jerry, he's like, we want it, but yet, you know, it's a lot of extra work, so more is not necessarily better for them.
Okay.
But if we could do possibly 100 this year, and then possibly whatever we have, that 75 the following year from the interest, and then,
I'd be happy to do that. I think that'd be good. I was very pleased with what they did, so.
Yeah, and I would say on the revolving loan, you know, we were looking at possibly around 2, but we don't necessarily need it all now.
but it has to be spent.
Right, but if you're gonna have another meeting, you know, maybe you do 100 now, and then at the next meeting, we see whether or not that 50 that we think we're behind right now, and the next 50 gets used, or you could consider giving the full 200 now, and we'd probably come back and ask for more anyway. So, you know, it's really comes down to how you want to invest the money,
I'd be
and they're all
willing to
worthy.
earmark 100 for, as we stated, and then 200 for the revolving fund.
So you're saying revolving loan 200,
Yeah,
and the Community Foundation 100?
100, yeah. I'd be
Okay.
willing to do that.
Lisa, you have your mic on.
Oh, yes, sorry, I did have a question. I was gonna ask the mayor what the recommendation was, but also, I do tend to be conservative, and we've got till the end of 2024. I don't know if we have to figure it all out in May still. You know, I guess I'm not inclined to think we have to spend the whole thing by May either. So, I mean, I'm comfortable with, 100 for the revolving loan. I guess I'm certainly not opposed to the community foundation, but it looks like there's a lot of the same people that get those funds over the past several years, so I just hate to send the money there again if we've got some time to think of maybe there's some others who might benefit.
But they're starting up on they need to know if we're gonna give them any money as they're starting their whole grant process. They need to get everything out by like June because they accept proposals by September, and so they kind of need to know in April sometime whether or not they're going to get additional funding.
I forgot about that, so thank you.
Oh, DJ.
Thanks. So my question is overall regarding appropriation of the remaining funds. Do they have to be appropriated to specific departments that are already in place or initiatives that are already in place? Or is there the room to consider new initiatives, a new type of revolving loan fund or anything that could be used to help the community in a way that may not already exist? For example, if we are building all these new opportunities for single family homes, like does the city already provide some type of first time homeowner assistance or program that could help with down payments to encourage people to move and live in Stoughton? Is that too much to ask in terms of the last year for appropriations? Is it not within the scope of ARPA and what we have for this money? I guess that's why I'm trying to, when Lisa's comment is, it seems like the same people get this for the community foundation, but also the initiatives seem to benefit businesses. But I also wanted to ask, how does it directly impact maybe new members of the community or other members of the community?
I think the answer is you can, as far as I know, do almost anything you want. We do have a first-time home buyers fund set up, and I don't remember the exact number. I think there's like 200 and some thousand in it, and they can get up to $5,000 in down payment assistance. And it's a revolving, so if they sell or refinance, at that point, at closing, we would get the $5,000 back for the next generation.
That's interesting, because I didn't know that when I bought my home.
And Dave can probably give you more information.
That was discussed, but to the best of my knowledge, it's never been set up.
Wire's never been set up.
If it is, there's no process in place that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and what I've been told is that we set the money aside, so if it's still there, where it needs to be, that the best way to distribute that would be for a home buyer to work with the local lender and have them facilitate the process, and then we would have to come up with a way to, to provide those funds if they're still available. So we'd have to talk about.
Well, yeah,
Well,
I mean,
that's in
we can't
the-
say we have a program if we don't have a program.
It's in the Affordable Housing Fund. The initial drop in the fund was $500,000, of which $250,000 was used for some renovations at the Greenspire properties. That fund has been paying the legal expenditures for the sale of the Greenspire properties, but there's about $260,000 due to interest that's in that fund at this point.
So does anybody in the community know that this program actually exists?
I've communicated it to some lenders and at different events, but certainly as we get into the spring here, I can probably.
I think we need like a handout, a section on our webpage. I mean, it needs to be kind of front and center. I mean, it's buried. I mean, so the deal is they can get $5,000 from the city, but then they pay the city back, so it's not really a grant.
It's a revolving loan, so they would pay it back when they refinance or sell the home.
Okay.
So then the next generation could do it. And that was money that was from a TIF district where we did that year extension. And the next one of those TIF districts that'll close will be in 2026. So there may be an opportunity to extend that TIF and put more money into that fund, but I have no idea how much that'll be at this point.
And it's only up to 5,000, which isn't very much.
No, the hope would be is that the developer and or the employer would maybe help provide a match if it was a Stoughton employer as a way to, kind of get roots into the community for their employees.
But 5,000 also helps reduce the the mortgage insurance aspect and other elements to the mortgage. So anything helps, especially when you're looking at affordable new home ownership. So I'd be interested in learning more about what this program is, how to get it out there, and maybe utilizing realtors as well, because homeowners are going to be looking from all over the place, and Stoughton could be a good landing spot with the value of our home and the value of our community for some people, and knowing that they would be supported by the city, that could be of real interest. But I guess that's extending from this ARPA conversation and whether or not it would be appropriate to use ARPA funds into a program like that to help, or if we're kind of bound by what is already in place.
Dave, and then Jean. Dave has a comment first.
The city elected to use the lost revenue calculation, which frees up for almost any purpose that we want to use the funds for. Off the top of my head, we can't use it to increase our fund balance. We can't use it to do anything with the pension payments, things like that. There's few limitations under the lost revenue calculation. So to answer Daniel's question, you have the ability to use it for anything you want. You know, if something completely new comes up and I'm going to make up a ludicrous example, but if you want to give $5,000 to people who were born on April 26th in the year 2017 between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., you can do it.
Shoot, I missed it. Jean first and then Lisa.
I think you've now answered my question. Is the revolving loan that we're talking about now covered by the ARPA revolving loan fund that we already sent money to? Are those two different, or is it in that same package?
The one for the homeowners is separate.
Okay.
And then we have one from the RDA and then one for the ARPA that are designed for, I'm just going to say commercial buildings, basically.
So I'm of the mind, since we've had this money for a while and we're coming up on deadline, but I like Lisa's thoughts around, I don't necessarily want to spend it all. Excuse me. I see some potential things coming, whether it's this home buyers or something from sustainability, even though we have earmarks. I would like to propose that we allot $75,000 to the Stoughton Community Foundation. And I would like to propose that we allot $100,000 to the current revolving loan fund that we funded just before. And I guess I think I'm talking about allotting $175,000 of our $300 remaining.
Second.
Any other discussions? So on the floor we have for the citywide revolving loan, $100K, and the community foundation, $75.
And the community
So
foundation had asked for 100 before, or just, I don't remember.
The community, they did ask if Jerry is a very kind soul. He's like, if you're thinking about, no. He said, just let us know what you would like by April.
And if I could just say, 75 came in because I was thinking middle road. 50 seems small, given for whatever reason. And 100 was a bit, and we'll still have a little bit more money if they were to give us feedback. So I just chose the middle road.
Greg, you gotta put your mic on.
I would make a amendment to that to add 25,000 for the forestry.
For 25, but the forestry comes out of the sustainability fund.
Oh, I thought this was separate from that. I thought you said, okay.
No.
My bad.
No. Any other discussions? We have 75,000 on the community foundation, 100,000 on the citywide revolving loan. And so that's 175, and we still have roughly 200,000 left if we're including the interest into that pot of money. Lisa?
I have a really short memory. Did John say, is he under a time crunch? I know you were
No.
asking that.
No.
So if we wait till May for
Yeah, he
him,
won't
he's
do
okay.
any work until the fall. You don't trim trees.
Or even, but I didn't know about ordering trees. I couldn't remember what he said about
He said
that.
it'll all be in the fall.
Yeah, they probably have
Okay.
their regular budget, probably get them through the spring planting.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, okay.
Yep. So, motion on the table, and I think it was second by Lisa. And I know, Ben, you have 1 minute to go. Revolving loan, 100K.
I can hang on for a few more.
Okay. 75 to the community foundation. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? This recommendation goes to council, so thank you. Is there anything else? I know, DJ, you have some great ideas. Is there anything else that anybody at this moment tonight want to propose for any other things? Lisa, your hand is up.
Just a question. It was quite a while ago, Mayor, that there was a conversation about maybe land acquisition for something, and I don't remember if that was for habitat or for something else. I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm just
Yeah, it
wondering if
could've
that's
been.
still on the forefront. Maybe not.
I kind of left that open-ended, but I would give you an update on the county budget. Supervisor Engelberger did do an amendment and added $1 million into the county budget for habitat for land acquisition. I think it was $1 million. And we're hoping that some of that land will be in Stoughton. They do have 2 projects this year, but I kind of left it open-ended. It could be really anywhere. But we really don't have anything that we would strongly recommend tonight.
So actually, we have, what, if we include about $200,000 left. My math was crappy. If we include the interest in there. Which it, go ahead.
I just wondered before everybody runs away, if we didn't want to consider it.
Yep.
A date for the next meeting as well.
Yep, and so that's what we need to look at our calendars. So unless I hear anybody else that has any ideas for the remaining $200,000 tonight, you have 2 months to think about it, and perhaps longer. The Sustainability Committee would like to present their full proposal in May, and maybe it needs to be in June. Maybe it needs to go. I mean, I guess I need to figure this out and maybe think out loud. They're presenting the sustainability plan to us, what, in May 21st? And then they would like to have a proposal of what the action items is. But I guess if we have those, again, just like what we just went through with their first one, if it's too close together, if there's changes to the plan, the implementation of the plan and the budget might change. So, do we want to wait till June, beginning of June to have our next committee of the whole meeting, or do we want to have it the last week in May? After Memorial Day. Memorial Day will be the 27th, so say May 30th.
I might not be in town.
May 30th, you won't be in town?
That's correct.
Dave, we don't know if you're going to be sequestered on your jury duty for some God knows how long.
I would sincerely doubt it's going to be a sequestered jury, but my first week is May 20th. The potential second week is May 27th, but that's if the trial lasts longer than a week. I sincerely doubt I will be in a sequestered trial.
Famous last words. So it's
Oh, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say it's possible, and it's up to you guys, but you don't necessarily have to do the sustainable one at the committee of the whole. You could just go right to council and go through their proposal there if you so choose. You know, you've been bringing them through here, but that's an option.
Yeah. Well, it's.
I don't know if
only
it's a
becau-
good option, but it's an
It's
option.
only because our council meetings have been so long, I would hate to add another hour on to the council meeting to discuss a proposal, because we seem, this, small proposals took us an hour. I can't imagine a large proposal, so,
And you don't have to decide that now either.
no, but I think
We lost your mic, Regina.
Or maybe sound in general from the room.
Yeah, I think so.
huh?
They might have lost
Okay.
our sound.
Can you hear us?
Now you can.
A little bit, yep. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, we'll switch microphones.
Maybe hers died.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Good.
Can you hear me now? It's just gonna run back and forth. We're looking for dates for our next committee of the whole meeting to go over the sustainability proposal. May seems to be out because our illustrious director Ellinger is gonna be sequestered in jury duty. And so, we're looking at June 6th. How does that look on everybody's calendar? Thumbs up, head nod, something? Got people online, Ben, Lisa, it's okay. Phil,
I think that's fine.
I will not be a relevant person by then.
you won't be a relevant person by then? Why?
Election.
Huh?
Ben will not be in office.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, Ben. Aw. All right.
Shouldn't you be congratulating me?
You may be
Counting the
presenting that
days.
night. I would say maybe keep that on your calendar, Ben. Please.
All right, so June 6th, Thursday, June 6th. Does 6 p.m. work for everybody, or do you want it at 7?
6
Six?
p.m. is fine.
6? Throw that on your calendars right now. COW cow meeting on June 6th at 6.
6, 6, and 6.
6, 6, and 6. Oh my God. Ooh, that's the devil talking. There's no devil. That's right. All right.
It's 6/6 at 1800 hours.
Oh, thank you, Dave. You saved us. All right, now we've really gone off the deep end, so I think we've.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
That's exactly what I was trying to mouth out. Second by Jean. All in favor of leaving? Say aye.
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 Thank you all. Take care. Bye.
Bye.